Do you ever feel like you don't deserve the attention you get? People say things about you and feel ways about you that you just don't feel like you deserve. I know that I do, and today we're going to talk about that. Hey, what's up? I'm Ken. This is kenfuTV, and each week I release videos in the martial arts, philosophy, technique, training, that sort of thing. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, I hope you stick around. I hope you subscribe. And if you like this video, I hope that you drop down, hit that like, and while you're down there, hit the comments. Every week I pick a comment from last week's video and talk about it a little bit. So maybe if you drop something down there, then the thing that we'll talk about will be what you had to say. Sometimes these videos can be longer than the average attention span, so I've left chapter markers down below so you can jump straight to the part that you're interested in. Today we're going to talk about feeling like a fraud. Like feeling like an imposter. Last week we talked about the Kruger effect, and if you didn't see that video, parts of it play into this video, so I encourage you to go watch that before you watch this one. The Kruger effect is a cognitive bias that observes the idea that the more we learn about something early on, when we don't actually know a lot about it, the more we feel like we're an expert, and then later we realize that that's not true. Well, I feel like there's a healthy overlap with what I want to talk about today, which is the imposter syndrome. It's been called different things like the imposter phenomenon, because it's truly not a syndrome, so to speak. It's not a condition. It's just a thing that we do, that we inherently do. They say like 70% of society feels this way. It's probably not true. It's probably higher than that. But effectively, I think this overlaps really strongly with the last section of the Kruger effect in the diagram. It was broken into quartiles, and the last quartile, the fourth quartile, is this place where people who are highly skilled, highly intelligent, underrate and undervalue themselves. And this comes out of the assumption that the people around them, their peers, know more than they actually do, so they feel like they don't deserve as much, and that's exactly what we're talking about. The imposter syndrome is when you feel like a fraud. You feel like you're getting recognition or attention for achievements that you feel are not noteworthy enough to be deserving of that attention. This comes from a very natural thing that we do, a natural perspective that we have, that we know more about ourselves than we do other people. And because we know more about ourselves than we do other people, we assume all of the negative things that we see, all of the things that we know about ourselves, the problems, the failures, the struggles, the challenges that we have, that other people don't have those, because we don't see those. Those aren't the things that people show. In today's society, I'll call it the Instagram effect, where people share the best parts of their lives, their achievements, their fun events, the parts of their social life that are fun and exciting, the adventures that they go on, and then we don't see all of the rest of their life. And so we assume that all of their life is like that. We don't assume it because we believe that that's true. If we stop and think about it, I think we do believe that that's not true. But we don't stop to think about it. So we naturally assume that that's just what that's like. And we do this all the time. When we do what we do, whatever it is, we are keenly aware of every time it doesn't work, of every time that we struggle, of how hard it was to get to the success that we got to the achievement that we made. But we see the people around us hitting those same achievements or similar achievements, and we're not aware of the struggles that they had. Because we don't tend to talk about the failures. And because we don't talk about them, from the outside looking in, they don't exist. And if those don't exist, then those people must be better than us. We think to ourselves in a moment when somebody acknowledges what we just did, we think to ourselves, yeah, but I just barely did that. You have no idea how hard that was, how I've failed so many times and I almost didn't even make it this time. Like, I just got lucky. We think to ourselves, yeah, but I just barely did that. You have no idea how hard that was, how I've failed so many times. Ken from the future, Ken the editor, watching this playback. I actually hate this moment. So I think that this is true. I think this is real. This idea that we might have really struggled to achieve what we achieved, and then somebody acknowledged it, and the truth is it might have been easy. It might have been incredibly easy, and we could just feel like it just didn't matter. It was no big deal. And I think that's actually, I watched this a handful of times trying to decide if I was going to drop this back in, but I think it's important enough that we realize that most of the time, the times that we feel the worst about who we are and this situation, accepting gratitude or appreciation, doesn't come from it being really difficult and other people not struggling or appearing to struggle. It comes from the fact that a lot of times it's easy enough for us that we don't feel like it was anything special. And because it wasn't anything special, we don't understand why it's such a big deal. I wanted to make sure I added that in. So we'll jump back in because we know how hard it was. So we assume when we see other people achieving similar things or similar things at a similar level that it wasn't that hard for them, and that we're the only ones that are like this. That leaves us in a headspace where we believe that we're not as good as people think we are. On this channel, I talk about the martial arts. That's what I do. And I think this happens. It's incredibly prevalent because when we see other people excel at their physical performance, whatever it is in the martial arts, maybe they compete really well, maybe they spar really well, maybe they do kata really well, or maybe they teach really well. Whatever that is, when we see them do it, we see that skill, we go, God, they're so good. And here's the trouble, as there's layers to this, because as teachers, we see the struggles that a student takes to get to where they are. So we know that they earned what they did and that they should be proud of it. That what they've accomplished moved them from where they were to where they are now in a big way. We know that. They didn't see us do it. So a lot of times when they look at us, they feel like, yeah, but it's so easy for you. You're so good at it, you make it look like it's not hard at all. Of course it doesn't look like it's hard at all. You didn't watch the 10,000 times that I tried and failed before I got even a little bit good. And in the 10,000 more that I did to become better. And in the 10,000 more after that to get to the place that you're seeing right now. And making this decision that where you are and where I am are drastically different, and where you are doesn't matter, and you don't deserve the attention, because they look at this other person and they say, look at you, why would you ever want me to do this when you obviously are so much better? Why wouldn't people want to see you do it? The thought that occurs to me while I talk about this is the reason I don't compete. If you're new around here, you might not know, I don't do any competition in the martial arts that I do, in any of the martial arts that I practice, jiu-jitsu, eskrima, karate, any of that. I don't compete in any of it. And that's partially because the things that I want to get out of my training, I don't feel like competition makes better in me. I don't feel like that's a good way to achieve that growth. But I have students that compete, and I also don't compete because I want people to see what they are capable of. It doesn't matter what I'm capable of. It doesn't matter how good I might be. I don't want people to see me. I want people to see them. Because when you put those things next to each other, I don't know, it draws attention away from where I think the attention should be. So in the martial arts, we struggle with this. We struggle to value ourselves as high as we should, because in our mind, there's people all around us who deserve the attention more. It's really funny. I've been looking into imposter syndrome for a long time. Tori Dawson was the first person who mentioned it to me, who put a name to it. Prior to that, it was just a feeling that I had. A feeling of not being good enough. A feeling of not being able to fathom why somebody would have any interest in me. I met Tori because of this YouTube channel. He got a hold of me. He's like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And I'm like, I can't believe you want to talk to me. I can't believe that anybody would want to talk to me. I can't believe that you, right now, are watching this video. I can't believe that any of the people who subscribe to this channel or leave comments in these videos or share what I'm doing, I can't believe that any of you even want to. And that I even have anything to offer to you. I'm making a video about the imposter syndrome, and the entire time, all I can think about is all the other resources there are out there who are better than me, who would be better to talk to, who'd be better to talk about this, who you should go look at. They've done videos or they've done articles that they should be the people that you're looking at, not me. So here I am making a video on the imposter syndrome and feeling like an imposter. I'm feeling like a fraud. I'm feeling like, honestly, that I'm being fraudulent to you, that by making this video and you watching this video, that I'm lying to you about what I know, or I'm making myself seem more important than I am, and that I understand this topic more than I do. The truth is, I don't have any way to convey how much I know about it. And I don't have any way to understand how much you know about it. And because of that lack of reference, that's where this comes from. So taking it back to the Dunning-Kruger effect, the people in that fourth quartile, the highly skilled people, when asked to rate themselves after they tested on their ability, they always rated themselves lower than they actually were. Dunning and Kruger decided that this was because they were miscalibrated. Their perception of their peers was miscalibrated, and so they looked at the people around them and felt like those people knew more than they did, which meant we're on a level playing field. And because we're on a level playing field, then I must have only done this good. That's where I believe the link is to the imposter syndrome, to the Dunning-Kruger effect, is this idea that when we look around and we see other people and we don't see those people talking about their failures, we don't see when people screw up or make mistakes. We see edited versions of people's lives. And I'm not just talking on videos, YouTube, that sort of thing. I'm talking about in life. When you have a conversation with somebody, there are things that we share with each other and there are things that we don't share. And because of that, we get edited versions of other people's lives all the time. And then we base our decisions on how good we feel about ourselves, how accurately we feel we've made a judgment of ourselves based against these edited versions of other people's achievements and other people's lives and other people's perspectives. Because of that, we have a tendency to have a lot of doubt. We don't believe in ourselves. We are sometimes anxious. In fact, when I was researching this, there are symptoms to the imposter syndrome. There are 4 of them, at least the reference that I have for this. There are 4 of them, and those 4 are anxiety, perfectionism, fear of failure, and self-doubt. Self-doubt's a strong one. We're anxious when we get in situations where we need to do what we do because we feel like we weren't the right choice, that there are people who are better than us. That anxiety is linked to that fear of failure because we feel like if we're put in this position, then we will fail and people will know that about us. People will know that they were wrong about us and they judged us poorly and that we're actually not very good. The perfectionism comes from the idea that if I just do it perfect, if I just put all of the detail, put all of the work, put all of the focus into making it perfect, then maybe I'll deserve what you're saying. So if I can't get out of being in a position where I feel like I'm not deserving of your attention, maybe I can work really hard and try to meet that expectation, that unrealistic expectation, that unrealistic perspective that we built in our own mind, describing who we are to ourselves. People see us for who we are, who they think we are, and they have an expectation. We see what we think their expectation is, and then we see our perspective being down here, and then we stress ourselves out trying to meet an expectation when really what we really have is a lack of communication. I'm not saying we need this communication. I'm not saying you have to have this communication, but the truth is we have not communicated. What I think you're capable of and what you think you are capable of are different. And because we don't have a way to bridge that, then we don't really have a way of knowing whether we should raise or lower those expectations. We don't know if we're on par or way off. And we won't. Without communicating these truths about ourselves to each other, we'll never know this. I see it on the mat all the time. When you put someone in a position to do something, ask them to demonstrate something, that they panic. And that panic because they don't feel like they're good enough. Because they don't see themselves the way you see them. In our daily lives, that's the way it is. We say things to people. Hell, look at the simple one. I think you look really pretty. Oh, no, I don't. God, I'm so ugly. I can't even believe it. Your perspective, my perspective. I think you're beautiful. You think you look like hot garbage. I think you're talented. You think you're a failure. I think you're incredibly intelligent. You think you're an idiot. Throughout our whole life, we have these things. And this is why I don't believe that 70% is true. I feel like ego, really high confidence into the ego sphere are making up that 30 to what I consider to be less than 30% of people. Because if your ego is high enough, then you're not thinking about that. In fact, maybe you're puffing up a little bit. Because these people know. They know how good I am. I'm very good. And these people see it. For the rest of us, when that happens, we go, oh my God, you're so wrong. And I am so afraid. I'm so afraid of letting you know that you're wrong. I'm so afraid of showing you that you misjudged me. That you felt higher of what I'm capable of than I'm able to do. And that I'm not going to be able to meet that. And I'm going to let you down. I've had people ask about doing seminars with me. I've had people that want to train with me. I've had people want to hear my opinion on things. And every single time, all I can think is, why? Why would you ever care what I think? Why would you ever want to hear what I have to say about that? Who am I to answer those questions? Who am I to lead that seminar? Who am I to be someone you'd want to train with? This comes from my perspective. I realized through the research into the imposter syndrome, I realized this comes from the fact that when I see other people who are doing well in the things that I want to be good at, I don't see the parts of their life that I live. I don't see it. So it doesn't exist. So I'm going, why wouldn't you want to work with that person? or this person or that person. I liken it also to making the connection to our Batikan in the Filipino martial arts, my instructor's instructor, the guy who founded the art, Batikan, Raymond Tobosa. I found out at one point that he was driving Guru Dan Inosanto around Hawaii, taking him to meet all these masters. And the reason for that was when people asked, they said, you need to go talk to Tobosa. When they asked for that, he said, you need to go talk to my teachers. And I understand now that what he was probably feeling is, I don't know why you'd want to hear that from me. I don't know why you'd want to talk to me. The people who taught me how to do this are down the street. I'll take you to them. They're the right people. They're better than I am. Why talk to me? I'm sad for that. When it came to Guru Dan's book and other places, the perspective and information of the guy who founded the system that I do doesn't exist. It's barely there. It's becoming more available now. There's more out now than there ever was, but that perspective, hearing what he had to say, didn't happen. I'm glad to hear the feelings and perspectives of his teachers, but I didn't get to hear his. And that's something that's important to me. I realize that knowledge filters through people, and it changes in color and intensity and everything. Everything about it becomes different as it passes through somebody else. And I realize that what I have to say is mine, and that sometimes when people want to hear what I have to say, even though they might know the people that I heard it from, that sometimes maybe that's just because they want to hear how that has gone through my filter. It came in contact with the other things that I know that are unique to me, and so I can appreciate that. Sometimes I have to remind myself that when people want to do a seminar with me or to train with me, and I feel like I'm the wrong person to be the person, when I feel like I'm the wrong person to make this video right here, because I don't know as much as the people that I'm aware of, it's easy to forget that you might not know as much as me. And maybe I'm the guy who needs to give you what I have and start you, and maybe because of me you can find those other people and you'll get more information. Or maybe those will be enough. I don't know. And I have to recognize that I have to be okay with that. And sometimes I have to recognize that I know more than I think that I know. I'm capable of more than I think that I can do. Running a school, teaching the martial arts, running this YouTube channel, giving my perspective on this stuff has been really hard. Really hard. Because I don't always believe in myself. I recognize so strongly that there's so much more that I don't have, that I haven't learned yet, I haven't done yet, that I haven't failed at yet and learned from that I don't feel like I'm the right person. But everybody's the right person for somebody, and I gotta give myself some credit sometime, and I gotta get off my back sometime, and I hope that you get off your back sometime, because if you're feeling this way, it's perspective, not truth. We have what we know. I call it my truth, your truth, and the truth. We don't get to know the truth. The truth refers to the exactness of it. Exactly where everything fits in its perfect understanding. And then my truth is what I understand of that. And your truth is what you understand of that. And when we talk to each other, we compare our truths and we try to communicate through our understandings of our own truths. And maybe through that, we become more aware of the truth. But I feel like we'll never know it. All we can do is strive to be open to the fact that it exists and that it's beyond what we have. And that's why we should stay open-minded in all things, because we don't have all the answers. And we always see things through our own filter. And that filter does exactly that. A filter lets some things pass through and other things not, which means the things on the other side will always be partial. Things that we see and believe will always be partial. So I hope that you're able to switch that filter, reverse it, flip it around, and start looking at the people you admire and recognizing that maybe the gap between you and them is not as big as you think it is. And that you're better than you think you are. And that when somebody admires you, when somebody compliments you, when somebody speaks highly of you and your achievements, that comes from somewhere. It's not fake. It comes from something they believe about you. And that it's okay to accept that. Even if you struggle to believe it yourself, it's okay to accept that somebody else does believe that about you. This one's a tough one for me. I think it's probably a tough one for a lot of people. So if you made it this far, thank you for listening to it. Thank you for caring what I had to say about this. And I hope that it was helpful. And if it wasn't, I hope at least it pointed you to the direction of somebody who will be able to provide something that is helpful for you. There are other cognitive biases and other mental filters and things like that I think I want to talk about at some point. And maybe you've got some too. So let me know those. In the meantime, we'll do my favorite comment from last week's video and we'll wrap this up. So my favorite comment from last week came from Sabam Ninja Kandi. One of the things that he pointed out specifically was talking about what they call the high belt dilemma. And I talked about the rank and people dropping off at different ranks. And he said in their dojo that they call it the high belt dilemma. We asked them to explain what it is. When someone feels the pressure, struggles, or responsibilities that come with a high belt and they can't handle it, so they quit. After they know about it, we ask them to think and come up with their own answer on how they will overcome this dilemma, what they will do, what kind of mindset you'll try to overcome this. And I think that's really awesome. What I love about that is the fact that it's addressed. It's not just a thing that happens. It's a thing that we know happens, and it's a conversation that you guys have. And long before it becomes a thing, you start the process of thinking about how you're going to approach it, what you're going to do about it. It's real. So what are you going to do? And I really think that's awesome. And I think more places need to do that. And I think that that's a thing that I need to start doing. So, Spellman, I appreciate that a lot. Be on the lookout for the video, the rest of the comments, and my thoughts on those. But for now, we'll go finish it up. Okay, so now you know that I'm a complete fraud, that I'm a total imposter, and that I'm not at all who you think that I am. And more importantly, I'm not at all who I think that I am. And you're not who I think you are. That's not a bad thing. It's just a thing we live with. So until next week, if you like these videos, if you want to see more of them, you think you might want to subscribe, you can do that right here. There's a playlist of the ones that are already out right here. When it's ready, this will be the rest of the comments from last week's video. And here's another video that you might like. I'm Ken, this is kenfuTV, and I'll catch you in the next one.